Made up of rings of microtubules. So if you remember, our microtubules are our hollow proteins, right? So you've got, if you're looking at it from top down, you've got basically like this triplet microtubule structure. This is like looking at it from top to bottom. And so you've got these rings of microtubules called the basal body. And then you've got some more microtubules coming out of the basal body, like this. And then you've got the plasma membrane that is sort of wrapped around these microtubules, like that. And so if we were to zoom out, we would sort of see the cilia structure just like this. So you've got microtubules that are anchoring the cilia structure to the cytoskeleton. So you've got now cytoskeleton anchoring to that basal body. And then you've got microtubules also extending out of the out of the cell, but it's ensheathed or covered by plasma membrane. And all that's happening is like these microtubules like this are contracting so that they sway like this. And that process is allowing the cell to either move or move stuff relative to the cell, like for example mucus on our windpipe. But the big thing about the cilia and the flagella for eukaryotic cells is it's just an extension of the cytoskeleton that's wrapped around by plasma membrane. And it's providing, for the cilia and flagellum, it's in eukaryotic cells, in multicellular organisms, it's mostly to move other stuff. Because most cells that we're talking about that have cilia in our body are anchored to each other. So they're not moving, they're just getting other stuff to move. If you're talking about a single-celled eukaryotic organism, it's so that they can move. That's the biggest part though, is that it's an extension of the cytoskeleton and it's wrapped by plasma membrane. The only exception to that is that prokaryotes that have flagella, they don't have, their plasma membrane doesn't cover their flagella. But that's just a technical.
Wait, what is flagella?
Yeah. Flagella is similar in structure to cilia in that it's an extension of microtubules, or it's an extension of the cytoskeleton. It differs in that it's typically longer. Organisms possess much fewer. Like in eukaryotic cells, the only organism, or the only cell that possesses a flagellum is a sperm cell. But we have trillions of cells that have cilia. And flagella are kind of like these whip-like structures that help propel an organism forward. And the cilia are more like oars in a boat. I don't know if that analogy makes sense. But it's the flagella whips like this, and the cilia more sways like that.
Is it like a type of is it like the
has a flagella.
Okay, it's just a different type of tail, or
Yeah, so it's well, I mean, in eukaryotes, it's a cytoskeletal extension. It's an extension of the. Let me see if I can pull up the PowerPoint so that I'm not just using words. You can actually see the difference.
Wouldn't the cilia also push it back? It was swaying both ways. It would push like any mucus and then the other way too, right? Like if it's like it's being pushing it down and it sways back, and anything like in front of it is going to get pushed back up.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Maybe the forward motion is much more rapid than the back motion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, like it goes like this.
I mean, it's kind of like if you're rowing a boat, you get your oars in.
Yeah.
And then you sort of twist the paddle so that you don't just keep going back and forth. There's some sort of technique, I just don't know what the technique is. Is that what you just said? Good analogy, there you go.
Oh no, not the analogy, but like the motion of like how it should be.